Hello and welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Macbeth Act 1 Scene 6. It's going to be a very quick video because it is a very short scene. So let's get cracking with our plot summary. So we rock up in Castle Duncan, so Macbeth's house, Macbeth's castle I should say, and when I say we, I of course mean the gracious King Duncan, Banquo, and well, to be fair, the whole gang's there. But it is Duncan and Banquo that have a nice little chinwag, and their chinwag is basically going, "Oh, isn't it lovely here? Don't we feel so kind of sweet and calm and safe in this property?" Not long after they have waxed lyrical about how lovely the place is, our fair maiden Lady Macbeth appears, and she is full of charm, telling them how much of an honour it is to have them stay, particularly King Duncan. In fact, she is the hostess with the mostess, and everyone is thoroughly charmed by her, and they have a little brief conversation about whether or not Macbeth, or when Macbeth arrived, because he zoomed home super quick to get there. So I'm going to take you through 3 quotations, only that, focusing on their significance if this extract came up in an exam, or the key themes that it relates to. So we will start off with the first one. So I'm going to just put one critical term up on the slide for you. There are other things going on that I'll mention, but this is the one that you need because this is the whole thing of the scene, and that is dramatic irony. If you don't know what that means, that is when the audience knows things that the characters do not. So the first quote we have here: "This castle hath a pleasant seat, the air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses." Now this is said by King Duncan to Banquo, and of course it is full of irony. So what we are picking out here is that it has a pleasant seat, so it's kind of positioned nicely. Note the personification of the air, how the air recommends itself, so it feels clean and fresh, and we've got these lovely adverbs of manner here: nimbly and sweetly. So the air is both nimble and sweet in its recommendation, and their gentle senses are pleased by it. So dramatic irony, he feels safe, we know he's about to get killed. So you've got to think, well, what is the impact of that dramatic irony? It makes him seem naive or trusting, whichever way you want to see it. But it certainly shows that he's a very trusting man. It makes us feel really, really bad for him, and it makes us go, "Oh, Macbeth, that's super uncool." Okay, next quotation. This is Lady Macbeth to King Duncan. So she's come out to greet them and say, "Oh, isn't it lovely that you're here?" And she says, "The honours deep and broad wherein your majesty loads our house." Okay, so you could argue it's a little bit of hyperbole, but it's probably just etiquette talking to the king. But look at these adjectives, deep and broad. So this is how vast this feeling of honour is, with the majesty loading their house. Bit of a metaphor there. It's meant positively, even though it sounds a bit negative. So it's basically saying how much honour the king brings just simply by being there. So obviously, again, we have dramatic irony because clearly she doesn't think that. She's actually trying to make him feel safe and feel honoured, so no one will suspect her when she eventually kills him or takes part in the killing of him. What's the impact of this? It's about her duplicity. So the dramatic irony emphasises Lady Macbeth's duplicity in our eyes, because we see her presenting one face like the flower, but actually being something much darker underneath, the serpent. And then the last one that we'll look at, this quote here: "His great love, sharp as a spur, hath holpen to his home before us." So this is them commenting on the fact that Macbeth hurried home. So we've got this lovely simile here, sharp as his spur. So the spurs are the little bit of the shoes that you kick the side of the horse with, yeah? And so he's saying that it is love that is that intense that gave him the motivation to get home as quick as possible, to be with Lady Macbeth. And that's the way they explain it. And yeah, to a degree, that's true. But the audience knows something else. The audience knows that he wants to get home to talk to Lady Macbeth about the prophecies and the predictions. So again, dramatic irony, we know more than the characters, and again it reminds us of this idea of their duplicity. So 3 key quotes, all dramatic irony, some other nice devices going on there as well. Our final thought for the video before we move on. So what are our key themes here? We've got relationships. Again, that even though Macbeth isn't in the scene, but that understanding of their relationship, they're seen as kind of this big love match, I suppose, in the eyes of the king, but it's also to do with the relationships with the king as well, and Banquo. Deceit, clearly, Lady Macbeth is being incredibly deceitful, incredibly duplicitous in this moment. She is manipulating them, trying to encourage them to feel safe so that they don't expect their demise. And probably the most important one here is the idea of good versus evil. Duncan being the figure, the symbol of goodness, the rightful king, and therefore everything that he says is very positive, very gentle, very graceful. And then you've got Lady Macbeth representing evil. And even though she presents herself as very loyal and trustworthy, we know through dramatic irony that it is not the case. Thank you very much for listening. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. This is part of a series of PowerPoints and videos on Macbeth, so make sure that you click the subscribe button so that you can access them all. Thanks so much. Happy revising.